For the better part of 2 decades, there's been one question that has just dominated the world of sports. It's sparked endless debates everywhere, and today we are going to dive right into the heart of it. For years, there have really only been three answers: Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, or Novak Djokovic. They are, of course, the big three, a trio that completely redefined what excellence in sports even looks like. But now that their legendary careers are winding down, has the debate finally been settled? Well, let's break down the arguments. All right, so where do we even begin? Let's start by stripping away all the emotion, the style, the what-ifs, and just look at the cold, hard data. What story do the statistics tell us? At the end of the day, in tennis, there's one number that matters more than any other: the Grand Slam count. And on that metric, the all-time men's record, well, it belongs to Novak Djokovic. With 24 major titles, he's climbed to a summit that neither of his legendary rivals ever reached. And here's the thing that's so wild about this. You have to understand how recently this all changed. I mean, look at this. Just before the 2020 French Open, Djokovic was actually in the third place. He was trailing both Federer and Nadal. His incredible surge to the top has really been the defining story of this era's final act. And look, it's not just the slams, not by a long shot. Djokovic's statistical case is just overwhelming. He holds the record for the most weeks at world number one. We're talking over 428 of them. And he's won more of those next-tier Masters 1000 titles than anyone else. By almost every single key measure, he's got the edge. You don't have to take my word for it. Listen to David Nalbandian, a former top 3 player and one of the only guys to ever beat all 3 in the same tournament. He puts it pretty plainly. He says, when you look at the results, the statistics, it's all there. So, case closed, right? The debate seems over. But of course, we're not stopping there. What if that's not the whole story? What if just counting up trophies misses something essential? There's this fascinating research paper that suggests a deeper way to analyze not just if a player won, but how they won. It builds a much more nuanced picture of what dominance really is. Okay, so the study uses a method called quantile regression. Now, I know, that sounds super complicated, but stick with me. The best way to think about it is this. It's less like looking at the final score and more like a high-tech analysis of the game tape. It's measuring superiority by looking at how many more points a player won compared to their opponent and how quickly they got the job done. This gives us a unique fingerprint of their dominance in any given match. And this is what those fingerprints look like. It's a little complex, but let's break it down. Each colored shape is a player. The further a shape is to the left, the more dominant they were in terms of points won, and the lower a shape is, the faster they won their matches. So that bottom left corner, that's the sweet spot, winning fast and winning big. And as you can see, each player's fingerprint totally changes depending on the tournament, which tells a very distinct story about how they won. So what does all this fancy data actually tell us? Well, a few really cool things. It reveals that Rafael Nadal's dominance on clay is, and this is a quote from the study, simply above the others. It's basically a statistical miracle. For Roger Federer, his signature trait was the sheer quickness of his wins, his uncanny ability to just end matches efficiently. And for Novak Djokovic, he consistently shows the highest values for relative points won, which means he wasn't just winning the match, he was winning more of the individual battles inside the war. This deeper data is fascinating, right? It gives each guy his own unique claim to fame. But it also makes you wonder, can you really measure greatness with a spreadsheet? What about the things that don't show up in the numbers? The style, the feeling, the art of it all. Let's go back to David Nalbandian. Remember him? The guy who just said Djokovic was the best by the numbers? Well, in the very next breath, he adds this crucial little detail. He says that Federer and Nadal were symbolically much more for the people, and that, at the end of the day, this whole debate also comes down to a question of tastes. And nobody ever captured this idea of tennis as art better than the writer David Foster Wallace. In his famous essay, he described watching Federer not just as a sport, but as an experience of kinetic beauty. He argued that Federer's grace, the way he moved on the court, was like watching humanity come to terms with having a physical body. For millions of fans, watching him play wasn't just about who won or lost. It was about the beauty of the experience itself. Okay, so we've got these two powerful, competing arguments, the objective case made by the numbers and the subjective case made by artistry and impact. But what if the answer isn't about choosing one of them? What if it's about seeing how they're all connected? So it really all comes down to this, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the case built on pure statistics, the objective, undeniable records that point squarely to Novak Djokovic. And on the other side, you have the case built on style and symbolism, that subjective, emotional connection that so many of us felt with Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. It's a clash between two totally different definitions of what the word greatest even means. And right here, we might just find the real answer. Nalbandian's final point is that you can't separate their individual greatness from their collective rivalry. He says they all boosted each other. They didn't achieve these incredible heights in a vacuum. They were forged in the fire of constantly competing against one another year after year. So maybe, just maybe, we've been asking the wrong question this whole time. Instead of trying to pick one and put him above the others, perhaps the true legacy here is the era they created together, an era so dominant, so compelling, and so beautiful that it might just go down as the single greatest era in the history of any sport. What do you think?